Hello and welcome to yet another exciting episode or segment of the program Health Guide, where we basically talk about everything related to health, diseases, treatment, and what have you. And today we'll be talking about animal and pet welfare in Africa with me, Fauziya Lukman. As usual, we bring doctors or medical practitioners or nurses to enlighten you about Health Guide. And today, like every other day, we'll be talking to a renowned veterinary surgeon and a research specialist in person of Dr. Benjamin Wayo. Dr. Benjamin, you're welcome. It's nice to have you here.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Funny enough, I would have you know that Dr. Benjamin is one of our very much ancestors from my secondary school and in the Union of the Whole Unity Schools in the nation completely. So, like, permit me when you see me like all shaky, it's because he's like, I grew up watching them as my role model. So sometimes they, you know how you get when you're a fan, all that close to, like, we literally worshipped you when we were in school and all of that. So, like, sitting close to you, I don't know, I'm feeling
please
this
don't
tension.
overdo it. It's okay.
Are you sure you're not giving me this tension? Like,
No. I'm a human being like yourself.
well, I'm glad to hear that. Well, going straight to the point,
Thank you.
Dr. Benjamin.
Yes.
There's this conception in Africa generally about pets and animals. Like normally when you come to the normal average African home, you see dogs as pet. And nowadays we see goats, we see camel. We've seen a situation where someone has pig as a pet. Now, is that a normal thing in Africa, or is that something that should be adopted in Africa, where you don't just think of cats and dogs as pets?
Well, in reality, because of the poverty we have in Africa, it is very difficult to see pets from food animals. We call food animals, you see pigs, goats, sheep, chickens, ducks too sometimes. Most of these animals can be eaten as food, or they are commonly eaten as food. So it is rare to find them as pets in African households because of the general poverty that we have in Africa. But we have people that are also well off in Africa. We have people that are very rich, some of the richest people in the world that are also in Africa, and some of them have some of these animals as pets. So it is not uncommon to see it. And while I don't think it's an issue of whether we should have it or we should not have it. The reality of life is that people need to survive. And so if they have to survive, and whatever protein they need, whether it is animal protein or plant protein that they need to sacrifice to live, then they will do so. So that is, in fact, the more people prosper, the more pets they have. You have pets more in prosperous countries than you have in poorer countries. So people have animals as pets really because they are prospering and they are doing well, so to speak, in life. So when they have enough for themselves, for their children, for their health, then they can now start keeping pets. That's generally what happens around the world.
Okay, so in the cases where people have animals in the house, we've seen a situation where people have animals, like especially dogs. Permit me to use dog because I feel like dogs and cats are like commonly used in various houses. You find out that the dog is protecting the house at night, so it's more like it's a protector instead of a pet. But then while it's protecting the house at night, what are the owners doing to protect it and make it look hygienic?
Yes.
Because there are some dogs you would come across and you just feel, okay, I don't want this dog near me. It's not because I'm scared of dogs or because of anything, but the like physical look of the dog. Is that hygienic? Is that something that should be looked into or like call the attention of pet owners to it?
Well, definitely, if your animal is close to you or your animal is being used by you, it's important that you take care of it. The question is, what are you keeping the animal for? So animals can be used for work. For instance, you have cattle, oxen, that's male cattle, male cows, that are used for farming.
Yeah.
Now, if they are not healthy, they can't till, they can't farm for you. So if you want them to actually do the work you need, you have to keep them healthy. So anyone that actually has these oxen as animals for farming, they make sure that they're healthy. They make sure that they are strong, make sure they are well fed. In fact, if they have any other cows, you notice that those oxen are some of the healthiest that they will have among all their cows, because it takes some strength and energy for them to do it. So the question is, what are you using your animal for? And how much contact are you having with the animal? So if you are having any kind of contact with the animal and the animal is serving you in any way, it is important that you care for the animal, because caring for the animal is indirectly caring for yourself. And sometimes, like the work, if you farm, you're going to be able to make some money, have some food in your house and so on. Other work could be, there are some dogs that are like shepherd dogs. We have them. They use, even around here in Africa, they chase the sheep or they chase even the cows to control them. We have some that are hunting dogs. And those are, in fact, they are very impressive. The guys that take care of hunting dogs, if you notice, a lot of these hunting dogs are very healthy. They are not skinny, they are not scrawny, they look pretty good. They are well bred, looking big and so on. They take care of them because these animals help them catch game. And they use that game, sell it and so on and so forth. So the question is, what is the animal for? What are you using it for? How much contact does it have with you? If it is serving you, you should in turn serve it also. So you do need to keep the animal healthy. You need to feed it well, and you need to take care of its health. Feed it well and take care of its health because it's serving you, and also because sometimes there are diseases that can be transmitted from that animal to yourself. So if you're not taking care of the animal well, you could actually put yourself at risk for diseases. So something as simple, there's something on right now that is happening. There's what many people may have heard, anthrax disease. Yeah, anthrax disease is actually something that comes up a lot. Not a lot, let me not say a lot. It comes up often over several years. It's a very, very, very toxic or infectious disease from a bacteria. A lot of times it's associated with food animals like cattle, like sheep, like goats. And the spores of that bacteria, they can last for a long time. So even if an animal dies from it, maybe even in the bush or in the wild somewhere, if another one comes and eats it, or comes in contact with the soil and so on, or digs it up, as the case may be, they can get infected and begin to spread it. So right now, there is a fear of an anthrax outbreak. It has been identified in, I think, one animal or something like that in Niger State.
And
we're looking, and Plateau State too. Yeah. There was rumors of one here in Abuja, if I am not mistaken, or Nasarawa, I can't remember.
It hasn't been confirmed.
It hasn't been confirmed. So
people don't get to talk about
we are taking beef. People eat beef. There are people that are having contact with these animals. People are taking them to the abattoirs. There's a possibility of infection. So you have know that there is a vaccine for anthrax. And if animals are vaccinated against it, they will not come down with it. So even if they had contact with the disease, they would not get infected, they would not get sick, and then the disease will not spread, because that disease doesn't just affect animals, it also affects human beings. So that's the thing. If you can protect your animals, you are inadvertently protecting yourself at the same time.
Okay. So in the case of protecting animals and providing the health care, what do you think the pet owners should do regarding taking care of the animals? Is there a scheme where they should go every 3 months or 6 months, or is it something that should only be done yearly?
Well, depending on the animal, there are different things to do. For most animals, there are either yearly, mostly yearly vaccinations. There are sometimes that they have monthly treatments, deworming and stuff like that. Or if you notice that they are actually sick, there are things to do. But the most important thing is that if there are vaccinations that take place mostly yearly, sometimes twice a year, it is important that you allow your animals to do that. I'll give you an example. A common one is anti-rabies. There's a rabies infection, which usually you see in dogs. Most of the time are transmitted from dogs. The vaccination is yearly. It's done yearly. So if you have a dog, as a pet, as a guard dog, as a hunting dog, whatever it is, it's important that you give that dog yearly vaccinations. And you go to a veterinarian to administer the vaccine so that you can be sure of what is being administered to your animal. That protects the animal from any disease, and then it protects the people also, because rabies is not something anybody has recovered from. Exactly. Whenever if a person gets infected by rabies, it's like a death sentence. So it's a very important public health disease. Then there are other diseases too with animals, with dogs particularly, even with cats. We do vaccinations for cats also, yearly vaccination, because they also get rabies. They can also get rabies. Then we have our food animals, pigs, sheep, goats. They also have diseases that affect them that could actually wipe them out. Most of the time they are viral diseases. So there are also vaccinations that you could give them. And most of the time those vaccinations are annual vaccinations. Sometimes we have cases where the government gives subsidies and just give people vaccines for free, but a lot of times it's something that you have to take responsibility for yourself, because when there's an outbreak of a disease, it can just wipe out all the animals. There's what we call not avian influenza, that's for chickens. That's another one anyway, but it's not common now. But in pigs, there's an influenza in pigs also, and it can just wipe out a whole herd of pigs. If you're keeping pigs, you spend a lot of money, it just comes and wipes it out. So if you vaccinate, that helps prevent those animals coming down with disease, or at least give them a good fighting chance when you're treating them. So there are definitely things you should do, whatever kind of animals you have. Visit a veterinarian, a professional. Find out from that professional what are the vaccines you need to give the animal. How often do you need to give them? Is it monthly, or rather is it yearly? Is it by twice a year? Just find out exactly what you need to do. And then if the animal is sick, you take the responsibility of making sure that that animal is treated. Okay. You don't leave him, because that animal is serving you, you should also serve it. I think I should say this. You know, the psychology is very simple. If, for instance, you have a dog that is taking care of your house, it's a guard dog. He's sounding the alarm. His bark is scaring thieves.
It's so hard.
And sometimes you don't have any theft or any small thefts or anything like that in your house because of that dog. It means that dog is serving a very important purpose in your life. So you would pay a security man somewhere 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 to take care of your house. How much should you pay that fellow? Now, he doesn't require a salary. He just needs care. So if he has vaccinations, if it's food, you give it to him. You don't just say, oh, it's the dog, he's just there. No. Because he's serving you, you should also take care of him. If something happens to him, something can happen to your facility, it can happen to your family. I've seen dogs that died protecting their owners. And that is because they are also taking care of those animals. So, so if they're serving you, you should also take care of them. That's really basically what you should do.
Well, a little reminder, you've been watching us on Global TV, channel 276 on StarTimes, and you can follow us on our various social media platforms on Global TV NG. If you're enjoying this program, please be sure to drop us a comment on what you want to know, what we're not asking that you want to know, what you need to know on how to protect your pets. We'll take a little Welcome back, and I hope you have a wonderful time, and I hope you're having a wonderful time and keeping tabs. Now, before the break, we were talking about the role of health on pets and animals in Africa. And before then, we were talking about a lot of things. Now, I really want the doctor here to tell us something that has been bothering me that I feel a lot of people should know. Doctor, please tell me that in all your years of being a veterinary surgeon, there is a rule in Nigeria or the African nation as a whole that serves a sort of punishment or a sort of warning to house owners or pet owners that aren't taking care of their pets regularly or yearly. Okay. Are there any rules like that?
Well, there are definitely laws against animal cruelty. There are laws, we have laws in the Nigerian Constitution and so on against animal cruelty. Unfortunately, the truth about laws is that they are not implemented by wishes. They are implemented by the will of people. And culture and behavior has a strong effect on what people pursue as far as laws are concerned. So I remember there was a recent case somewhere in Lagos of a dog that was shot and killed in, I think, an estate or so, somewhere in Lagos. And the person that shot and killed the dog claimed that he was at risk, and the dog was actually not, he was not really at risk, and it was really a case of cruelty. I can't remember the details. And they're pursuing some amount of justice. I know that there was an arrest or something concerning that, but sometimes and the reason why that happened was that there was actually an outrage from dog owners, from other people too, that looked at the case, as it were. So it takes people to actually implement these laws. Sometimes they may not even be written laws, but morality, human compassion should actually move us to do the right thing as far as animals are concerned. So I would admit that to a great extent, animal welfare, laws against cruelty are not as practiced, so to speak, here. Generally because to a greater extent, we're dealing more with the poverty in the land than we're dealing with other things. So it's difficult for you to start saying, okay, you've not dealt with the issues of people, and now you want to start dealing with the issues of animals. Someone joked that you came to a place and you stole your bicycle. They stole my bicycle. The policeman now said, they stole a whole ship. They have not found it. Is it your bicycle? We are going to talk about.
You can just imagine.
So we have our priorities, and unfortunately, it is the reality that we're in. But the question I keep telling people is that if you can pay attention to this animal, if you notice that it is doing something for you, it is only right and righteous as a human being to treat that animal right. That's one of the reasons why I use these hunting dogs as an example. These guys are local guys. Some of them are not so educated, but they take good care of these dogs. You find out that they're healthier than the average local dog. They are well taken care of. They are strong, they are smart, and they are also certainly fairly well trained.
Yes.
They follow their owners very well. They respond to them and so on. So they care for them because those animals are doing something valuable for them. And if those animals are not valuable for them, they will not do anything. So what are the animals doing for you? Are they providing you babies? Are you able to sell maybe their babies and make some money? Is it the eggs? Is it the protection is it the rats that the cat is taking care of? Because it is serving you, it is only right for you to also treat it well. And that is where we are going to see improvement in our laws once people start applying their conscience. You see, if you live by desperation, you're not going to make progress as a person. We have to live by a sense of duty, a sense of morality. If we always face our desperation, we'll never make progress. But if we begin to live as moral people, considering the things that are right and good, it makes it easier for us to make progress as a people.
Well, speaking of improvement that you said earlier,
yes.
Now a lot of people are venturing into fish and poultry and all of that. Now, do you feel it's like an added advantage to the economy in Africa as a whole? And then what are they doing pertaining to, because as it is now, the prices of eggs in particular are very, very high, and the prices of chicken. Now, do you think it's as a result of lack of taking care of the chickens for them to lay more eggs, or is it just a thing medically?
Well, there are several factors involved, and most of them are economic. It's not really about how well they are taking care of them. It is more about how creative we are with the breeding practices, and also what economic, will I say, subsidies and help the government is putting in place to make sure that the agricultural sector is flourishing. You see, when you talk about fish, we're talking about poultry, you're talking about meat. All these areas are a very major part of the agricultural sector. And without the involvement, active, consistent involvement of the government, you are not going to make progress. Most of these markets are really just in the hands of the private sector. People are just struggling on their own. So there is no order, there is no consistency, there is no consistent subsidy. Let me give you an example. Sometimes governments actually go all out to subsidize feeding feed for the animals. Now, if they don't subsidize feed, they can say, okay, you're a farmer. How many vaccines are you going to give this? You're going to give 10 vaccines for the animal, for this chicken, before it's of age to start. So we'll give you all the vaccines for free. In fact, we'll pay somebody to come and give you all the vaccines. So that takes a load off for you, so that you don't have to care about vaccines. Sometimes they may say, we're going to give you all the drugs that you need, or we're going to buy the chickens for you. So that significantly reduces the cost for the farmer. And because of that cost, when he's selling the produce, whether it is the eggs or meat, it will be significantly cheaper when he gets into the market. But if everything is on his own, if he has to raise all the money for the feeds, raise all the money for the treatments, then it becomes more costly, and that will directly affect the price of the produce in the market. So
thereby affecting the economy.
And thereby affecting the economy, because
okay,
people can't afford.
But then does that mean everything we have to rely on the government to do things so we will get things easier? Or you as an individual, because you've already woken up and decided, I want to go into this. It means you should have the mental preparedness and the health preparedness and everything intact and things. So you should, I feel maybe you should just need a little help or a little push from the government or something. So if we should all rely on the government, wouldn't it make the whole thing way more than it should have weighed in the first instance if we are to stand up and do it on our own? Because I feel maybe it's underrated, the rate at which everybody is relying on the government when it comes to agricultural wherein?
Well, in this case, it is not a question of relying or not relying on the government. It's almost like saying, can I live without air? It's not possible.
Of course.
So there are certain things that if government does not support, take for instance, if you're going to have, if people are importing, or not even not use that, that's even complicated. If there is insecurity in the land, people are not going to farm.
Of course.
So the cost of grains are going to go up. And grains are what they use to make feed for animals. That happens automatically. So there's famine because people are not getting what to eat. And of course, if people are not getting what to eat, where will the animals get what to eat? So who takes care of insecurity? This is government's responsibility. So if now there's an issue of people are importing grains, and say when they're importing grains, it is more expensive or it is cheaper and so on and so forth. If government affects, our governments are the one that actually have the power to affect what happens, whether you're importing or not importing, exporting or not exporting, and so on. So those prices and those issues are really not in the hand of ordinary citizens. They are really in the hands of governments. So there are some things that the government just has to do. I mean, we've seen cases where, I remember it was, what is this billionaire's name again? He talked about, there's a book of his, he talked about Asian tigers. The Asian tigers, most of these Asian companies, some of them he talked about, there was a book he spoke about that. They made progress in their economy based on a consistent investment in agriculture and the produce that comes from agriculture, whether for exports, for manufacturing, and so on and so forth. So every government that is serious really needs to invest directly and consistently in agriculture, one way or the other. And it's not really about just handing out money. Sometimes it's really about just controlling certain things, something as basic as security. But people do have a responsibility also. If people have funding, they have the right attitude, they have the right mindset. You have more young people going into agriculture, being creative, doing extra, as it were, taking up modern methods of farming. That definitely can help improve agriculture, as it were. But whoever is farming, whoever is doing the work, they always need one support or the other. It doesn't mean doing everything for them. It's just really helping them to do better.
Well, lastly, Doctor, is there anything you would want to call the attention of the government for in regards to farming or agriculture, in regards to animal and pet rearing in Africa?
Wow.
Very briefly, because time is actually...
Generally speaking, what we just need is consistency. Seriousness and consistency. If you're efficient and you're consistent, you're going to make progress. People actually say that we have a corruption problem, but I can remember listening to Bongo's Ikwe some years back on television, and he said, our problem is not a corruption problem as much as an efficiency problem. So if we believe in being efficient, we would naturally take care of corruption. So we just need to be more efficient, more consistent, targeted efforts towards a particular area. If you're going to give subsidies, do it well, continue doing it year after year, and you're going to start seeing the results. Nothing is automatic, it takes time. That's what I think our government can do.
Well, thank you very, very much for your quota. We really appreciate it. A little reminder, you've been watching us on Global TV, and thank you very, very much for tuning in and joining us. And we hope that next week, by the same time, same station, you will be here with us, engaging with us, have questions you want to know, things you want to know about medical health, about diseases, about what you've been going through, that you haven't reached out to anyone, and you're wondering who would listen to you. Well, we are here to listen to you and offer you proper solutions. Join us same times again next week. I remain your host, Fauziya Lukman, and with me here was Dr. Benjamin Wayu.
Thank you.
See us next time again. Bye.